in Kansas anymore.
You have my curiosity.
Are you telling me you built a time machine?
The Force will be with you. Assemble.
Welcome back to Get Real, the podcast where we get real about all of our favourite pop culture films and TV shows. I am your reality warping host, Chris, and with me is my husband, co-host with the indestructible head.
What did he?
This is like a partnership, isn't it? It's Sam.
I guess so. It's like a weird audio nerd / bro partnership. But what did they do
it's a
to you,
working
Chris?
relationship.
What did they do to you, Chris?
They did.
What
so
did they do
much.
to you, Chris?
I'm trapped inside my own reality. I'm trapped
What are we
within these
talking
four
about?
walls.
What are we talking about this week?
We're talking about WandaVision, if you didn't guess.
That little TV show
MCU's. The
Yeah.
MCU's first foray really into the main streaming services. I mean, we've had some bits, but it's debatable whether they're in the MCU or not now. This is the first Disney Plus show, anyway.
Yes, the first
Woo!
Marvel original, right? Not
Yes.
Netflix. A non-Netflix Marvel original TV series.
Yeah. Well, they did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well and Runaways and stuff like
true.
that, but they're all debatable whether they're actually in the MCU because
Can't forget.
they're never brought up again.
You can't forget Inhumans, everyone's favourite
Oh!
Marvel TV show.
No. Agent Carter, that's definitely in the MCU.
Maybe it's not the first foray into it then.
No, it's not. It's just like the main one that they're pushing. Like this is like the first one with the big heroes in. Shall we say that?
Yeah, well, it's the first ones that they
With an Avenger.
Yeah, the first ones that they've pulled directly from the films, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're going to get on to that because we don't want to go straight into the main topic, do we? We love the preamble ramble, which I've stolen from another podcast, but there we are. But there is a little
Sam?
bit in the way of news, I think, isn't there, this week, Chris?
Well, first of all, I was going to ask you, Sam, what have you been watching?
Oh my goodness, I have put the wrong marker in. I've marked it as news, but this is the WWBW section that we cannot forget exists. What we've been watching.
What we've been watching.
What have I watched since last week? To be honest with you, I don't really think I've watched very much. I'm on the final season of The Man in the High Castle now.
Very good.
I've not really watched a whole lot. To be fair, I've kind of just been playing a little bit more of Call of Duty because the new season and all that business. I have been playing Dota again. Been getting back into Dota 2. Gonna go win me a lot of money at an international next year. Wish me luck,
defo.
guys.
You and Navi just going head to head.
Oh, that's it. What else? What else have I been doing? I played a bit of Gears Tactics. That was fun.
I think you're on the wrong podcast, Sam. You need
think
to
I
jump
might
on
be.
and get real gaming for the week.
It's been a bit of a gaming week versus a watching stuff week. I don't think I've watched very much. I'll tell you what, Chris. What have you been watching? And I'll just check and see whether I've watched anything that just wasn't very memorable.
I've watched a hell of a lot, Sam.
You've been watching quite a bit in terms of bloody MCU, haven't you? That you've been sharing
I
on
am
the socials.
on-
At Get Real Pod, everywhere you get your socials.
I am on the I nearly said on the Get Real hype. I am on the MCU hype. Like, my missus hasn't watched all of them, or some of them she doesn't really remember that much, so we decided, we've been saying it since before we moved in together, right, we're going to rewatch the MCU. So we're all the way up to, we finished Winter Soldier last night.
Jeez.
Oh, what a good film. So we've watched everything from Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, all the way through to Winter Soldier. So we've only got Guardians of the Galaxy and Age of Ultron left of Phase 2. Although they're now saying that Ant-Man is also Phase 2. The last film in Phase 2. I thought that was the first in Phase 3, but either way, that's where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
So I've watched a hell of a lot of films. How many films is that? We've had 3 Iron Man films. We've had 2 Captain America films. We've had 2 Thor films. We've had The Incredible Hulk, and we've had an Avengers. That's 9 movies already.
Have you been watching them in release order or chronological order?
Release order.
Oh,
Otherwise,
interesting.
we would have started with Captain America, then gone on to Captain Marvel.
Nah, true, yeah. Because Disney Plus lays it out in chronological order, doesn't it? So
It has 2, yeah. It has chronological order, and then it has release order because it has all the different phases.
yeah.
So yeah, we're doing it in release order because there's certain things that like call back to earlier films, even though they're a prequel and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to like watch it like and see how the MCU really progressed. Because I don't think I've ever gone and just like watched them all in order, like after another, with like such a great amount. Like sometimes I've gone and watched like all 3 Captain America films or something like that. But man, I am enjoying it. It's such a romp. Love it. Thor: The Dark World is still kind of naff. Incredible Hulk was better than I remembered it being. And Winter Soldier is just fucking incredible.
Yeah.
So
sure.
yeah.
Interesting. Very good.
Mm.
I've just recounted and I have not watched very much.
He's not opened his eyes for a whole week.
I'll tell you what I did watch. I did watch the second half of, is it 13 Hours with John Krasinski in it?
Yeah,
the action,
13 hours outside Benghazi or something like that.
Yeah, the one where it's like the debut of the big John Krasinski beard, isn't it? So yeah, that was good. And I've also been watching a little bit of The Office US as well. So a little bit.
We watched
more
the first couple episodes the other day of the US Office as well.
Yeah, it's a good. It was the one where Jim goes to propose to Pam, but then I can't remember Ed Helms' character, but Ed Helms proposes to that other one instead, and then the new HR lady comes in, and yeah, it's a good little bit. It's nice and
I
funny.
remember that, like that part of the story, but yeah,
well,
I just remember the memes.
There's quite a few things that I want to watch. Outside the Wire's just come out. That Anthony Mackie one on Netflix. That looks fun. Yeah, and I kind of wanted to go rewatch Infinity War, Endgame, and stuff off the back of WandaVision coming out.
Yeah,
I also
watch everything with Wandering.
Yeah. I also want to check out The Midnight Sky as well with George Clooney in it because I've seen the trailers. Yeah. Looks quite Gravity-esque a little bit.
I heard decent things about it.
Yeah, it looks
also,
fun.
You were saying that you want to rewatch some Marvel stuff. Marvel have put out Marvel Legends as well, which are like little 7-minute episodes following Wanda and Vision as like a recap of all their stories and stuff like that. That's pretty interesting.
Very
nice
interesting.
little refresher before you watch WandaVision.
Oh, yeah. Oh dear, I'm just on Netflix looking at a list of things and then something started playing in my ear, so I'm going to switch it off. Anyway, shall we move on to some newsy news?
It is time for the news.
There is a couple of Roos Lumas in here. He's been infecting the bloody news stories this week, so I'll let you know.
Busy boy.
Let you know when we've got a bloody Roos Luma coming up. But yeah, the first story this week, which is a really exciting one because it's been pretty quiet on this front, but we've got a bit of a synopsis of the upcoming Amazon Studios Lord of the Rings series. And a bit of a look into what that is going to entail. So to not completely lose all the non-nerds listening to the podcast, it's basically a bit of a prequel, I suppose, to the actual films. But it's a prequel to the films and a prequel to The Hobbit. It's in the second age of Middle-earth, which I'm assuming, it's before the events of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So, in the quote, this will take viewers back to an era in which great powers were forged, kingdoms rose to glory and then fell to ruin, unlikely heroes tested, hope hung by the finest of threads, and the greatest villain that ever flown from Tolkien's pen threatened to cover all the world in darkness.
Ooh.
So, from the darkest depths of the Misty Mountains to the magical forests of the elf capital of Lindon to the breathtaking island kingdom of Numenor. Now, do you think they're going a bit Game of Thrones-esque with this?
Kind of, maybe. I don't know. I think Lord of the Rings is so ingrained in its own sort of mythology that it is its own thing, and I think Game of Thrones is kind of Lord of the Rings-esque.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're going Game of Thrones with it or Game of Thrones went Lord of the Rings with it, but I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to see like a whole new age, and it's not going to be like just the same sort of story and overlapping again.
Yeah, when I say Lord of the Rings,
2,000 years before it's set, I think someone said.
Yeah, when I say Lord of the Rings, I think like if you imagine that in Game of Thrones, you've got all these different little small storylines going on that eventually come together. I think maybe when it says from this part of the world to this part of the world to this part of the world, I reckon that's what it might mean. So that you'll see like, the elves, and you'll see the dwarves, and you'll see the men, whatever as you call them, the humans. There are female and male men, so to speak. And then you'll have then you'll have the bad guys, right? And I reckon maybe you'll see those parts like kind of come together. But it's an interesting part because it's kind of something that's delved more into in the books and in the video games. So I'm quite excited to see all that. Probably get a little bit of mentions to things that are in like Battle for Middle-earth, etc. Maybe, like old school
little
stuff.
Bits of the Silmarillion and stuff in there, because I think that was during the Second Age, wasn't it?
Yeah. Very exciting. That's apparently some of Tolkien's greatest work, the Silmarillion as well.
Yeah.
Apparently it's like the bloody don't know. It's what like the only example I can think of is it's like what Warhammer books are to Warhammer fans. It's like it's deep. It's a deep dive.
Shit.
Yeah, it's a deep dive if you're going to jump into it. Anyway, that was a big nerdy reference. Let's move on to the next story. So we got a Netflix 2021 movie preview trailer, which is actually, it's very, very fast paced, but it features a lot of footage from upcoming Netflix stuff like The Red Notice, The Army of the Dead with Dave Bautista. I don't know where I think Red Notice is the one with Gal Gadot.
And Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, and somebody else. Vin Diesel?
I don't think so.
No, The Rock.
We said The Rock, didn't we?
Oh, no, you said Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot.
I
I
assumed in my head we already mentioned The Rock.
The Rock and Vin Diesel are like two cuts from the same tree, really.
Just eggheads in a vest.
One's just got more Maori than the other one does. That's it.
Yeah.
And then there's that film which is featured right at the very end, which has got Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, yes, which was a big deal apparently. To see those two on screen together, which is going to be very cool.
I thought like they are two big gets for a Netflix film.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about this. I don't think DiCaprio's been in a Netflix original, has he?
I was also wondering, like, I think he voiced over like a documentary or something. I don't know. He kind of looked a bit like what's his name? Oliver Snowden, was it? What was his name?
Oh, are you on about the real person?
Yeah.
Oh, you're thinking of Are you thinking Edward Snowden?
Edward Snowden, that's
the one. Guy who WikiLeaks guy. Yeah.
He kind of looked a bit like that, and I was like, "Is this a film about that?" Because I thought I heard somewhere that there was another film coming out.
Well, we had that film that I told you about that I walked out of the cinema of because I was just that bored of. The Fifth Estate, or was it the Green Estate? The Fifth Estate,
something like that. The Fifth Estate. Yeah, that was the Chris Hemsworth one, wasn't it?
No, that's the Benedict Cumberbatch one.
Oh, Benedict Cumberbatch one.
Yeah, so both MCU heroes, but I see where you're going there. And
then we had the Joseph Gordon-Levitt Snowden film as well. I don't know, he just kind of looked like him to me, but I'm looking at the cast of that. The cast includes Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Cate Blanchett, Timothée Chalamet, Ariana Grande, Jonah Hill, Adam McKay. It's a political satire. Don't look up.
Is that what it's going to be called? Don't look up because Okay, yeah. Right, okay, fine.
So that might be why he kind of looked like Snowden-esque. Maybe they're doing a parody on that because it's a political satire.
Yeah, because it doesn't say specifically what it's about, does it?
No.
Interesting. Army of the Dead looks fun.
Yeah, definitely. Is this the Zack Snyder one? Let me check this. Yeah, it's Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. So we've been hearing of this for a while, so
it's going to be very stylized. It's going to be I think it's very much going to have that Zack Snyder style to it. I think it's connected to all his other zombie films that he did, like the Day of the Dead and stuff like that, remakes and stuff that he did in the early 2000s. Yeah. Oh, it's got the guy who we were talking about, who was in Sorry to Bother You, the man from what's it called?
The
Power.
Seinfeld?
Power.
Oh, the guy from Power. I can't remember his name.
Mr. Power himself. Mr. Power.
Not Power's Booth.
Not Power's Booth. But this looks fun. I like Dave Bautista and stuff. He was really good in Hotel Artemis as well.
Yeah, also, Zack Snyder's zombie films, like, say what you will about them, they are a bit naff, but they're a good 2 hours to turn your brain off to.
It's a 2021 zombie film, though, so I reckon,
COVID 21?
Oh, God.
COVID 21 outbreak.
What would you do? What would you do?
Also, we've got Halle Berry making a directorial debut with a drama called Bruised, which seems to be about female MMA fighters.
Ooh. It's interesting.
Ooh. And then we've got Escape from Spiderhead with Chris Helmsworth as well. Part of a drug trial, trying to shorten the sentences. One of those types of films.
Speaking of Netflix, a list came out on, I think I read this on Games Radar, or Total Film. It was one of the two. A list came out for the most watched shows on streaming of 2020, and this is across everything. So The Office actually took top with 57.1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Grey's Anatomy 39.4 billion, Criminal Minds 35.4 billion. To put that into
Context.
To put that into perspective, I guess.
That's the word.
The Mandalorian got 14.5 billion in 2020, but I guess that's because it only came out kind of halfway through the year, I suppose, didn't it?
Yeah,
So,
towards the end.
But that was a little interesting drop of flavour. Right, next story is while we were talking about Zack Snyder and DCEU related things, he's just doing all the segues this week because there's a lot of news to go through. So I'm trying to like link in where I can.
Yeah.
Ray Fisher
It was slick until you pointed out how slick it was.
Ray Fisher has officially been removed from the upcoming Flash movie, coming out of the back of a couple of, I think he did it on Instagram, or he posted out a big, long-ass message.
It was on Twitter.
Was it on Twitter? Yeah.
Yeah.
But he basically strongly disagrees with their decision, but is one that is unsurprising, he says. And then he's kind of questioning the upper leadership at Warner Brothers. And he maintains that Walter Hamada is unfit for a position of leadership. So
yeah, I don't know if we talked about this, but it was the whole thing about Joss Whedon and some of the executive producers on the Justice League reshoots being like racist, creating hostile workplaces and stuff like that. Just like really putting, especially Ray Fisher, but also the other stars through like appalling conditions and stuff like that, and being generally fucking shitheads to get shit done. And the one that you mentioned, was it Hamada?
Walter Hamada, yeah.
Yeah, although he wasn't originally stated in like doing anything to do with this, he has then been like defending everyone and like putting people's jobs aside to sort of defend Jeff Johns and a couple of the other producers, and that really sucks to hear Jeff Johns' name thrown in there, but he's been cited as like one of the worst ones, because I've been a big Jeff Johns comic book fan for quite a while, so that fucking really sounds shitty of him.
Yeah, it's a bit sour, isn't it?
But Ray Fisher said that if he has to lose the role of Cyborg altogether to make people own up to their mistakes and for this stuff to stop happening, then it's a price that he's willing to pay, which for someone who, like, he has been so dedicated to the role of Cyborg, for him to be saying something like that, it's quite a powerful statement, to be fair.
Yeah, it's quite crazy, really, because this was, like, the big break for Ray Fisher as well, you know, like, the being
in films, yeah.
In film, yeah, definitely. Like, you know, this is the second closest thing that you're going to get to, like, Star Wars or Marvel. Like, you can play someone in the DC universe instead. Obviously, you know, he was in True Detective and stuff like that as well, but in terms of this, it's crazy that he's as willing as what he is to be vocal and obviously, you know, make sure people are made accountable for stuff, providing that's what's going on, because obviously we have no idea, but, you know, there's got to be something.
They had the hearing about it and stuff like that, and some things were met, but, like, Hamada and other people sort of, like, stepped in the way of people, like, really, like, getting any justice or anything. So that's why this has come to light again, which is fucking shitty that now they're just dropping him from movies for trying to do the right thing.
Oh, it's a messy business, DC. It's a messy business. Speaking of DC, we got another little look at... speaking of DC and speaking of executives and directors that didn't do jobs properly. We got another look at Suicide Squad. What's his name?
David Ayer
cut. So, well, we say the David Ayer cut. Is it official, or is it a cut?
He seems to be dropping little tidbits and stuff for it, like. And so this one was just like a short little 2-second clip of Jared Leto's burnt face Joker that we saw in all the promotional material that just disappeared. Is he? I don't know if he's just working on his own cut because he's got the footage.
Do you reckon he'll release
and then
it
maybe
on,
he'll be like, "Oi, guys, you've done it with the Snyder Cut. Just fucking release my version."
Do you reckon he'll release it on YouTube or Pornhub or something and just let people...
That took a leap. It wasn't even YouTube to Vimeo. It was YouTube to Pornhub. Wow, Sam.
Do you reckon though? Because this footage has got to be somewhere. You know what I mean?
What would the title be? What would the title be? 5 of the best supervillains get fucked by executives.
Oh god! Shall we swiftly move on? A bit of Obi-Wan news. So there's 2 stories about Obi-Wan. So Liam Neeson said that he was up for returning as Qui-Gon Jinn in the miniseries, but whether or not that is a thing that would happen or is happening is yet to be known. But he did voice that he'd be up for it, which is good.
Question is, flashbacks or Force Ghost? What would you rather have? Because if they do flashbacks, they need to de-age him and really de-age Ewan McGregor as well.
Yeah,
Ewan
you know
McGregor
what?
looks like a baby in episode 1.
They've got the ability to do it. The ability to do it. You only have to look at bloody Mark Hamill de-aged. So there is the way of they can do it. I don't know. Probably Force Ghost. Probably where he says that he communicates with him. There'll probably be a point where you see Obi-Wan go into a meditation, and then you'll see Force Ghost Liam Neeson appear, and then they'll have a conversation.
Yeah, because Yoda starts teaching Obi-Wan about that stuff in the Clone Wars, doesn't he?
Yes.
So yeah. Force Ghost would fit in with the overarching story.
Then the other story as well is that there are a couple of unhappy people in Buckinghamshire where they've set up a massive film set for the Obi-Wan spin-off series, a disused quarry, and it could be there for up to 3 years, it says. So obviously that'll be the filming, and then they'll probably leave it there for a bit of reshoots and stuff, pick up shots, and then they'll probably leave it there as, it takes time for it to be dismantled and stuff. But yeah, no,
that's a long time.
It
makes you wonder whether they're planning on keeping it there to film other stuff there.
Yeah, because
we need a desert mountain scene. Quarry.
It definitely looks a bit Mos Eisley-esque, but whether or not we can really tell yet. It looks like they're probably still in the process of building the set, but it is a huge set, man. It's like a massive street in Tatooine, but it's huge.
Links where it didn't happen.
I will send you the link after the episode. They've gone to the full extent of doing the inside of it, the outside of it. So they've done quite a few different streets. It looks awesome. It looks very much like The Mandalorian. Probably a case that they'll be using a lot of this for the outdoor stuff, and then they might be using the what's it called? The 3D, the 360 screen thing. Can't think of its official name.
I can't remember.
They call it the volume. They call it the volume.
The volume. There,
yeah, they call it the volume. Whether they're using that for some of the indoor stuff. We're getting towards the end of the news segment because I'm trying to rush through it.
I've got some news left if you want me to jump in with some.
No, we've got Ethan Hawke as the villain in Moon Knight, but we don't know who he's going to be playing, but people are saying he could be Bushman. I don't know who that is, but that's the story. Ethan Hawke in Moon Knight, great. And then we got some news from PlayStation saying that Uncharted, The Last of Us are just the beginning of non-gaming PlayStation projects, so it could be more... could you get a God of War movie? Who knows? Could you get a Spider-Man movie? Oh, it's already a thing. There you go.
A couple other things then.
I've got one more story, Chris.
Go on.
HBO Max released another trailer for their same-day premiere business that's happening. And we got a little sneaky look at Godzilla versus Kong, and either Godzilla's grown a lot or Kong's hang on, wait, no, the other way around.
King Kong's grown a lot or Godzilla's shrunk.
Yeah, that's it. Because I think the video that you see is Kong takes a punch at Godzilla, and they look like they're fighting on like an aircraft carrier. Looks pretty sick.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of other bits and
Looking
bobs
at it
in
right
this
now.
trailer, isn't there?
Yeah, in that HBO Max one, we also got a Mortal Kombat look. Also, Entertainment Weekly released some photos from it. So we got more shots of the cast and stuff like that. The costumes look sick. Looks like they're actually getting Asian people to play Asian characters for a change in the Mortal Kombat universe, which is good. Like, it looks gnarly. They said it's going to be dark and gritty. The fatalities are going to be scattered throughout, so it's going to be absolutely fucking savage. So fair dues to that. I'm excited for that. We also got a tiny little snippet in that HBO Max thing of Sub-Zero using his powers.
Yeah, he ices a sword up or something, doesn't he? Or
He makes a sword out of ice normally. Yeah. And apparently it's going to mostly focus on Scorpion and Sub-Zero's rivalry. Is what the main story is going to be. What else did we get in the HBO Max thing? We got a look at Locked Down, which is a Chiwetel Ejiofor, Anne Hathaway film about a couple on the brink of breaking up during lockdown in quarantine in London. So then they decide to become master thieves during lockdown. Like, the trailer, like, in the last minute, takes a drastic turn, and I was like, okay, I'm a lot more interested in this now. Because before that, it just seemed like staged. Have you seen Staged? With Michael Sheen and David Tennant doing like Zoom calls?
No, I've not seen it.
It's good. Season 2 is about to air, I think, which is pretty cool. They're also getting that show out really quickly, but I guess there's not that much editing that needs to be done.
We also got a sneaky look at some extra footage from Suicide Squad.
Oh,
The Suicide Squad. Oh, it's like literally split seconds here, split seconds there, so you don't see loads of stuff. But you see like a cool little bit at the end where Harley Quinn's in like a room, and she's like, it's like a 360 shot where she's like shooting guns around her, and blah 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 blah. So very much actiony.
Matrix 4 logo has been rebranded, so now it just says Matrix. So is it kind of a reboot or what? Is it connected to the other trilogy? We're not sure yet. And also, there was a snippet from Space Jam 2, but I haven't seen this, and it seems to have been taken down from a lot of places, so I can't see it. But I'm looking at a picture of LeBron James wearing the Space Jam team jersey with Bugs Bunny freaking out in the background. So give me Space Jam 2. I watched Space Jam like a couple of weeks ago as well. That's a fucking funny film, that.
Yeah, it's a classic.
A little bit of Marvel news, quickly, last little bit. So this was reported everywhere, Deadline and everything like that, saying that Captain America Chris Evans nears a deal to reprise the role in future MCU properties, which we were all like, oh shit, let's fucking go. But then he tweeted out later on saying, oh, this is news to me. So he just like contractually obligated to keep it a secret until it's officially revealed? Or is he just playing hardball to get a better deal or something? We're not sure, but I'm excited for that. Also, a lot of people are just bringing it up again like they did after Endgame. Can we get a 6-episode Disney Plus series with Captain America returning the Infinity Stones?
Yeah, everybody wants that. Come on.
That would be sick. I'm seeing some theories that maybe he might return as Hydra Captain America as a villain in a film. Ooh. That would be pretty cool. What else could he... I was thinking as well, could we get more films of him throughout time now then? Like, other wars and stuff, like working with the Howling Commandos, bring them back and stuff like that. Maybe he could stop Bucky in that new universe that he's in. Stop Bucky from ever becoming the Winter Soldier and stuff like that. That'd be pretty cool. And then finally, apparently, so Screen Rant have reported this. I've not seen it anywhere else yet, but apparently Charlie Cox has filmed scenes for Spider-Man 3. And Marvel recently got the license back for Daredevil, so he could possibly show up. But whether that's just a ruse rumor or what, but it's on Screen Rant. Who the fuck knows?
Who knows? We'll see.
Who the fuck knows?
Multiverse of
quick-
Madness.
It is literally madness, that multiverse. I'll fucking tell you. It's madness, that. Okay, so trailers. Let's do some trailers before we move on to Chucklevision.
Should we talk about the trailer that we've both seen that we're both really excited about?
Do you mean the trailer for Cherry?
I do mean the full trailer for Cherry, because we got to look at a scene last time, didn't we? But this is like the full trailer now we're seeing, and it looks pretty good. I like how it has that theme of I see things before they happen or something like that. I like that callback at the end and at the beginning and stuff. It's real good. Looks real stylistically. This film looks awesome. Like
Tom
I really
Holland
can't
just
wait.
looks great. He just looks great in it.
Yeah.
When's this coming out? March 12th, is it?
Yeah, it's like the first part of it. I think it's just at the end of Q1.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Damn, I'm excited for this. Like, there's a lot more like Warzone stuff than I was expecting. And the editing on some of those shots looked really fucking sick with the helicopters and stuff. So yeah, defo excited for that. Tom Holland, just put him in more stuff. Like, he's really proven himself over the last couple of years. So, like, I'm just excited to follow his career. I feel like he's going to be another one, sort of like Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing this big franchise stuff with Spider-Man at the moment, but then he's going to cherry pick his other
I see
films.
what you did there. See what you did there.
He's going to, like, pick his other films really carefully to do some really interesting roles. Like we saw with Devil All the Time was a completely drastically different character than we've seen him play. Now he's sort of like in the same sort of vein. Cherry is like a similar sort of feeling character, but damn. Russo brothers are at it again.
Indeed. Damn indeed.
Damn.
What other trailers did we get?
Okay, so the only other one that I really want to talk about, because we talked about the Netflix and the HBO Max ones, is Malcolm and Marie. So we saw a clip of this in the Netflix one, but we've got a full trailer for it. So this is John David Washington from Tenet and Zendaya are playing like a couple, sort of like going through a like difficult patch. It seems like it's all taking place over one evening. It's them sort of like trying to reconcile their relationship and all that sort of stuff, but it's all shot in black and white. Like they're an interesting couple to put together as well. And it seems like a really like interesting little character piece. That comes out on February 5th. Also in selected theaters as well, so they might be going for some awards with this. Stylistically, it looks great. They seem to be acting really well together. Zendaya's trying to like put on more of a mature performance. Like, this is coming out the same year that she's also, well, not this year, next year she's going to be playing a high school student, and then she's playing like a mid-20s like wife. So she's definitely like stretching her acting skills, and I think she is getting better and better the more that she's in. She's come a long way from the Disney days. So yeah, and John David Washington, I want to see him in more stuff. So
yes,
this looks good. I think that's it for trailers.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't think of anything else. No?
No. I'd say that's pretty good.
Chucklevision? Time for Chucklevision?
Chucklevision.
Chucklevision. Bam, bam.
WandaVision. We gotta do the whole intro. We gotta do that whole intro of the second episode.
Bam, WandaVision.
So this is first impressions of the first two episodes of WandaVision. How do we do this? Should we do... Well, I don't really think there's much spoilery for these first two episodes. I mean, there's potential spoilers for the future of WandaVision.
Yeah, I think if we discuss like some of the little Easter eggs and some of the little nuances, we can do that at the end, because that could potentially spoil the rest of the season if you don't know what's really going to happen.
Okay.
So we'll do like rough impressions and talk a bit about the story, and we'll leave all the juicy bits until
because Chris is like a tome of knowledge for Marvel stuff, so no doubt he'll call something
I've literally
out
like broken down every second of these two episodes, let me tell you that.
We did the if you haven't listened to our big fat quiz of the year or whatever it was, you'll know how much of a bloody bad man you are at trivia.
especially for the Marvel stuff. And honestly, with this rewatch, like I'm just getting even more in there.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to know what battalion Alexander Pierce served in the Second World War as the 101st Battalion? Let me tell you. like honestly, if we did that quiz again now, I would literally nail every single one of them questions.
We're not going to do another MCU trivia quiz.
God damn it!
We
Come
need
on,
to find
give it
someone
me.
who's as equally clued up as trivia as what you are, to make it fair. Right, yeah, first 2 episodes. So shall we talk generally about the vibe of this? Because wouldn't it be crazy for someone to say that they were going to start a black and white sitcom in 2021? And if you got this not knowing that obviously it was MCU related, wow, what an actual jump. Because this, from what you see of WandaVision and you see all the black and white stuff, like that is the first 2 episodes. It's very, very, very much full of that. And I thought those parts of it, I thought I would probably not like be into it as much. I think it'd probably I was thinking that bit would fall flat for me, or I was thinking it'd be a fun bit. But yeah. I was thinking that like after episode 1 or something, it'd like kick in, but it doesn't. It has 2 full storylines based in this like 50s post World War II, post World War II era of sitcom, and it's really fun. It's really, really fun.
I genuinely, for the first episode, had to like keep reminding myself that this was part of the MCU. I think both episodes did some really interesting things. Like episode 1, like it full on sold the sitcom aesthetic of it, and like everything, like they didn't pull away from it near enough at all. So for people like me that were like thinking of like the grandiose story and like all the different things and stuff like that we'll talk about later, like it pulled me more into the sitcom aspect of it, because I thought I was going to be like looking for like the cracks in it all the time, but it really drew me in. Whereas episode 2 started to drip feed you the mystery then. And that was for like the people who didn't really know anything about it going into it. They were sold on the sitcom aspect straight away, and then now they're getting drip fed the mystery. So I think both episodes played really well and used, like you said, like the black and white aesthetic and the sitcom vibe of it to introduce things in a really interesting way. Like the introduction of colour in there is a little bit in episode 1, but mostly in episode 2, the introduction of colour and what that means and stuff like that. Very much like Pleasantville. The film with Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon in from the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's interesting like how much the comedy kind of lands in it as well, because obviously there's lots of MCU callbacks, and that's what kind of makes it quite funny, because obviously these, it's still Vision and Scarlet Witch at the end of the day. It's not like they're just being it's not just literally like you're watching a sitcom, but because they have all little callbacks to like Wanda and her powers and how that works in this like cheesy over the top 50s 60s America. And then you got Vision, how he keeps going back between like his Paul Bettany self and his Vision self, and how he goes to like a normal job, and it's funny. It's really good,
and it breaks down like the rules of like early sitcoms as well, like the fact that they're sleeping in separate beds and stuff like that, but also like the husband used to always go off to work, and we would never know what he did at work. He would just like, because it was mostly focused around the home, and it would be the wife and the children and stuff like that. So like in this version, like he goes to the office and stuff like that, but because he is like this uber smart, like infinitely brainy android and stuff like that, he's like, what do we actually do here? He's trying to find logic in things, and like he's like just kind of having to play along with the sitcom tropes and stuff like that, which I thought was really interesting.
I think that might actually be a deeper thing.
So do I.
Well, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that in potential spoilers.
Stick around for our Easter egg breakdown of both episodes.
Yes.
We've got 3 hours.
I like how when it takes a turn, it really does take a turn. Like, you notice like the camera angles change, and that's when things are starting to go a little bit weird. And
I love Elizabeth Olsen's performance in this as well, because she's playing a character that is distinctly like not Americana and stuff like that. But because she's in this fictional world and like she's going through all the different eras of sitcoms, like she's really having to change the way she acts in each episode, or how Wanda would perceive her character to act in each episode.
Yeah.
So, like, you see it, especially in episode 2, like, she's learning the behaviors of people around her and stuff like that. And as, like, she's understanding more, she's fleshing the world out more herself as well. So that, like, Elizabeth Olsen's performance to be able to do something like that is pretty fucking damn good. And Paul Bettany as well, like you said, like, when he goes into, like, his human form almost, and he does become more, like, generally, like, because he's always played Jarvis and stuff like that. He's, like, putting on, like, this British accent and stuff like that. And, like, he becomes, like, oh, this charming house husband and stuff like that. And but then, like, in episode 2, like, I love the way he uses his natural accent to, like, show the difference between Vision normally and then Vision in episode 2.
I absolutely loved Paul Bettany in episode 2.
He was so good.
That bit where he swallows the gum and it gets all, like, lodged up on the inside, and it's like he basically goes drunk. And it's just...
It was so funny.
Oh, it's absolutely
a drunken robot
hilarious.
trying to come to terms with this weird world that he's found himself in. It's so funny.
So funny. Yeah,
because
like
he's never been confused by anything in his life, and now he's like, what?
Yeah, it's hilarious, and he's like, and some of the things that he just comes out with, and it's just such a departure from his character.
Definitely,
it's hilarious. It's so
also,
fun.
I love the ad breaks in the episodes as well. It really sells, like, the aesthetic of, like, it being a TV show.
Yeah,
having
well,
these ad breaks.
Yeah, the ad breaks are really interesting because it nods to
We'll
start.
talk about that later.
Yeah.
Literally, if you're going to watch the show, you need to pay attention to every little detail, and maybe you won't get some of them, like, as much as, like, some of them aren't as obvious as others. But, like, if you're a massive MCU nut like me, then certain things you'll be like, yes, ooh, mm-hmm, oh, literally, it appreciates, like, what's the word? A loyal viewer, like someone who's watched all the MCU and stuff like that. Like, it really, like, you feel appreciated, like, oh, look at all these little bits that we're sprinkling out, like, that we know that you're going to understand and you're going to get a kick out of.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely, like, rewarding the viewer.
I loved the Mr. Hart actor, Fred Malamed. He's in Fargo, and he was so good as, like, the boss character, and yeah, really good. That was fun.
I like the way they take people from, like, different sitcoms and stuff like that. Like, his wife was the mum from that 70s show and stuff like that. So different sitcoms that they're going to be referencing and stuff like that. That's a nice little thing. The supporting cast in this are genuinely, like, really good. You've got Catherine Hahn as Agnes.
Well, on Google, she's credited as Nosy Neighbor on Google.
Okay.
She's in Agnes.
It's Agnes, isn't it?
Agnes, her name is. Yeah.
We haven't got a surname for her yet, I don't think.
Yeah, a lot of people really like praising her and how not flexible, but just diverse she is in terms of her acting chops.
And she's, like, really witty in this as well, like, a line delivery, like we said, like, everyone's, like, following the formula of these different sitcoms and stuff like that. And, like, especially, like, WandaVision, Wanda and Vision are sort of, like, they're a little bit exempt to it. Like, they can break the rules a little bit. But then Catherine Hahn is, like, full on, like, selling into each of these different sitcoms. So, like, episode 1 is, like, very much, like, late 50s, early 60s with, like, Dick Van Dyke Show and I Love Lucy. And then episode 2 is Bewitched, which is late 60s going into the 70s. Like, that's when colour television was just about to start coming around and stuff like that. So, like, that's why, like, they end up changing to colour at the end of episode 2 as well and stuff. Like, so, like, they have quite different aesthetics because, like, so much was changing, especially within, like, media in the 50s and 60s. So Catherine Hahn just sells both of them, like, so hard. But then you see, like, whenever, like, because you are in Wanda's position in this show, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like, whenever Wanda isn't paying attention to something, you can see Catherine Hahn's character in the background, like, breaking away from this character she knows she should be. And I'm like, you're up to something new.
Well, you know, definitely something's going on, because if you've seen the other Marvel films, you know Vision's dead. And he is proper dead. So,
like caved in, skull dead,
like the
which
thing
was a nice little
yeah.
joke. The first line of the show.
What was the
First line of the show, like he says to her, "Oh, my wife and her flying saucers," because like aliens and like spacecraft and all that sort of like multiverse shit. And then she says, "Oh, my husband with the indestructible head." Like,
oh yeah,
she had to destroy his head in Infinity War. Then it got rewound, and then fucking Thanos just broke his skull.
oh yeah, jeez, yeah.
So
That's a
yeah, he is
throwback.
hardcore dead.
Oh yeah.
How's he alive?
But how? What is going on? What do they do to you? What did they do to you, Chris? Yeah. Lots of really interesting little nuggets of like, apart from all the sitcom stuff, just when something starts to happen, it like really disconnects you. And I love the style of it outside of the outside, like at the credits, like that whole vibe, the colours, the pinks, the purples, the blues and stuff. It looks really cool. Like
the credits was so interesting because it's all made of like red, blue, and green pixels, isn't it? So it's like how like old tube television works with just those three primary colours. So like all these shapes that we're seeing and stuff, it's like Wanda's crafting things out of pixels, like she is like in the series, like manipulating the world around her to this television format. So cool.
So without
everything's connected,
without obviously trying to spoil anything, like, do you think that, because right now episode 2 leaves off, we're still in like sitcom-y world, but we start to like move through the decades a little bit, I suppose. You know, like we're moving into colour TV now,
70s now, yeah.
Yeah. Do you reckon we move through like another 2 episodes before we start to maybe actually reveal what is happening, or do you reckon maybe what do you think? What do you think's gonna, without spoilers, just kind of a like? Do you think we're gonna get more like of Vision and Wanda in the TV show before we kind of break out and see what's going on, or?
So we're nearly a quarter of the way through the series because there's only 9 episodes. So I reckon like the next 2 episodes they're gonna drip it out a little bit more, and then once it hits the halfway point is when they're fully gonna start revealing stuff. I think we might get a bit more of a reveal of, like you said, maybe like the outside world type stuff, like outside the sitcom stuff next episode with Janice's character. I think that's where the drip feeding's going to come from next episode. But not to spoil anything, like I think it's going to be like probably at the end of episode 4 is probably when we're going to get like a big break away from like the sitcom stuff.
Yeah, so you reckon episode 3, episode 4 is like the sitcom-y stuff in colour, and then we start to really, because there are shots of the trailer that hints away from all that, doesn't it? That shows other things going on. But obviously we know that, you know, when you look at who's cast in this, you know, you've got Randall Park, is it, who plays Jimmy Woo, and a SHIELD agent, so he's cast in it. So you're gonna know that obviously it's going to move away from that.
Agent, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Right, I guess shall we deep dive into some speculation, spoiler-aculation?
Also, before we go on to spoilers, this is on 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh yeah, of course. Like
holy cow!
The thing that I've noticed about WandaVision is that it's encapsulated people that aren't big MCU buffs. Also, like even people that maybe didn't go and watch the films are like really into the TV show as well. Like it's just received praise all round.
It sort of starts off on like a blank slate. Like you don't really need to know either of them because you're discovering them and they're discovering themselves almost through like the episode. So like you said, if you haven't watched the films, you could still get something out of this show.
I guess you don't even need to have really seen the film to know that, or to have an impact that you know that Vision's not alive. Like if you're watching this as just a TV show, obviously at some point you're going to find out that Vision is dead.
Well, we see that in the trailer, don't we? That Catherine Hahn's character like reveals that to him at some point. So everything that you need to know is in the show. It's not like Endgame where you had to see everything else to understand Endgame.
Yeah,
like WandaVision stands on its own merits.
quite interesting because I imagine that's going to hit a lot different to people that haven't watched the films. Like, because this is kind of like, from when you've watched the films, it kind of hits a little bit tragically when they have like moments and stuff, because it's a bit like, oh, he's not there. But if, let's say you've not watched the trailers, or you didn't really catch that in the trailer, then you're going to have like a weird kind of like, I don't know, you're going to have this weird like epiphany of like, oh no, what happened with him, kind of thing, and he's not there. So, interest. That's what I kind of like about it, is like, the perspective of people that aren't big nerds like us, and probably other people that listen to the pod, that I wish, like, just to know how that feeling that you get, because when something big happens in like a TV show or a film, that if it's linked to something else but you've not watched that, it hits different, and then you go watch the other thing and then it gives you a different perspective on it. It's a bit like watching The Rise of Skywalker but not seeing the prequels or something, I suppose, isn't it, with all the voices at the end. So it's a bit like, ooh, yeah, interesting, cool. Right, spoiler time, speculation central. Are we ready? Right. I'm gonna kick us off dead quick with something that you mentioned earlier about the beginning. It's kind of like gone off when you said we won't talk about that.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was now, though. It's gone out of my head.
We talked about Agatha Harkness. We were talking about the colour red in the adverts and stuff.
Right, okay. Well, let's just go like kind of chronologically through it. So in episode 1, you get the the Stark, the little adverts we were talking about, and you stopped me there. So I liked how on the first advert, that was like the first little bit of colour that you got off the toaster when it was bleeping. And I love the awkwardness of those adverts. It's so funny. Like that first one where it's like the toaster's doing its thing, and then it zooms in on the female character's face, and it's like she's waiting for it to like set off.
Yeah.
But
and, like,
what's happening there? What's happening?
That's interesting. So it is a Stark Tech thing, but also like, so in the comic books, Wanda refers to Vision as Toaster, as like a lovable sort of like jab. So that's like a little ploy, but also the toaster looks a bit like a face. It's got the 2 dials and it's got the tray at the bottom, which looks like a mouth. And then where the Soul Stone would be is flashing red.
Oh, that's why it's flashing red.
Not the Mind Stone, sorry, not the...
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But also, like, that is, like, technology breaking down as well. We notice when technology sort of breaks down in this, that's when we get, like, the red aesthetics, and, like, that's things bleeding in from the other universe and stuff. Yeah,
because while we're talking about that, you get the... you get the blood, first of all. And then
that's episode 2 then, isn't it?
And you get the helicopter as well, don't you?
Yeah.
But the helicopter's got that symbol on it that we'll talk about in a little bit. The other advert is the watch, the Strucker, which is the Hydra thing, where
Baron von Strucker, who gave Wanda Maximoff her powers.
Yeah, which if you blink, you'll miss the Hydra symbol, because it's quite subtle, to be fair. It's not like in your face. It's like
it just looks like a brand logo if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, it's quite funny, that, to be fair.
Also, it says it's Swiss made as well, and in Captain America First Avenger, the Red Skull and Hydra are hiding out in the Swiss Alps.
Oh yeah, interesting. Interesting.
And also, what I like as well, in both adverts, we were saying like how tension sort of like rises in them and stuff, with like the female character waiting for the toaster to pop and stuff. So the toaster sort of like speeds up and speeds up and speeds up and then breaks. So it sort of like escalates to a breaking point. And the clock, the watch in the second advert, the ticking speeds up.
Ooh. That's interesting.
Like tension and the passing of time and stuff. Agnes.
What's going on there?
So, a lot of us are thinking that she is Agatha Harkness. So, Agatha Harkness, Agnes, taking parts of both the names to put together. So, in the comic book, she is the witch that helps Wanda use her like reality warping powers and stuff like that, and gives her the energy to make her twins, her children, with Vision, which we saw at the end of episode 2. She is now pregnant. And in episode 1, she's helping her set up for like this romantic night, and she keeps mentioning seduction techniques. And then in episode 2, she mentions school and children a lot. And episode 2 was all about for the children, even though we don't see a single child in that entire village. But they're always saying for the children, for the children. So it's like Agnes is manipulating Wanda and Vision to having children.
So do you reckon? Yeah, so she's like almost interrupting into what is going on. Like she's trying to, because she's always trying to like push her way in, isn't she? She's always like,
it's like she's aware of what's happening.
Yeah, and she's trying to like kind of break Wanda's reality, maybe, or what Wanda's in, without it being just like, by the way, this isn't real kind of thing.
So I think she knows everything. I think she's just like like somebody manipulating everything, because as well, so we keep getting nods to the devil, which like was so close in like episode 2. Dottie says the devil's in the details, and then straight away Agnes turns to Wanda and says that's not the only place he is. So we know that Agnes has like information from outside this universe, and she's manipulating Wanda's like pocket dimension sitcom reality thing to get her to have children. In the comic books from when Wanda has the kids, they are each a part of Mephisto's soul, which is the Marvel version of the devil, and Agatha Harkness is revealed to be working for the devil. Ooh. So we think that maybe she is making Wanda and Vision have children, which are each going to be part of Mephisto, to bring Mephisto into the real world once, because we've seen in the trailer as well, like the pocket dimension is sort of shielded by like this like dome almost in the real world, isn't it? So maybe the manipulating to bring Mephisto to the like the real life plane in the MCU, maybe.
But obviously, like that's gotta be Scarlet Witch's powers doing that to herself, right? Like she's actually gonna have to be manipulating herself in like real life.
Well, that's the thing. Like she's being manipulated by Mephisto and Agnes to create this whole sort of reality and stuff like that. I think we're gonna see I think at some point we're gonna see the inciting incident which made her create this pocket universe at some point. Maybe it could all be like a big old loop or something like that. Like something happens in the real world which ends up leading, but that version of the real world was inside the sitcom or something. I don't know how that's going to play out, but I think we're going to see how she created this pocket universe and why she created it.
So shall we speak about potential villains then? So obviously you mentioned Mephisto.
Yes.
I read online a lot about how there's lots of nods to the Grim Reaper, who's one of the MCU comic villains. There's a little helmet that's underneath the floorboards in the intro of episode 2.
The Bewitched style intro, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's also the boss's wife, Vision's boss's wife wears a pendant showing a Grim Reaper figure with 2 children. And the license plate of a car which Wanda and Vision drive to Westfield in the opening sequence of the first episode is 0102, which is also the number comic in which Grim Reaper meets the Vision.
Yeah, so that was the episode where Vision gets his consciousness from Wonder Man, who is the brother of Grim Reaper. And Grim Reaper is the villain, which Vision then has to fight to save Wonder Man. So that's issue 102 of the Avengers.
Pendant children to a Grim Reaper figure, maybe.
Yeah, so maybe Grim Reaper and Mephisto are maybe working together or something, or maybe the Grim Reaper stuff is just sort of on the back burner for now. Maybe I think Mephisto is the real threat more than Grim Reaper, because Grim Reaper doesn't normally have many supernatural-esque powers, I don't think.
Well, the last thing we should talk about in terms of villains is the beekeeper guy who has that symbol on his back, which is the same symbol that was on the helicopter that's red.
So that's sword.
Yeah, well, first of all, a beekeeper coming out of a drain in the middle of the street was creepy as anything in black and white.
How sinister was that? Like surrounded by bees and everything like that, and flies and stuff.
Yeah, that was weird. Now, when you zoom in, you can see the actor's face, but I don't recognize him from anything. And I don't. I don't
think he's like an important like actor or anything, but I think
But
what
she
his character
recognizes,
symbolizes.
but it's how Wanda recognizes that's, and then she goes no, and then it like rewinds and doesn't happen, and it's like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
So it shows that she's conscious that she is the one manipulating this reality and stuff.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people pointing out that this might be Marvel's weirdest Nazi supervillain. It could turn out that it could be Swarm, which is obviously people just like reaching at. Well, what? It's a beekeeper. It's a man with snakes. It's with bees. Sorry, not snakes. But yeah, people saying that it could point to Swarm.
Well, that is out there. I didn't think of that. What I think this is, so we keep hearing like these like loud clangs and stuff, don't we? And like loud booms and stuff like that. So we get the introduction of Janice in this, and if we've seen the trailers, we know that she's from the outside world. We hear one just before she finds the helicopter. So that like was a helicopter that's come in and has ended up as like a harmless little toy. And then we hear one just before the beekeeper appears. What I think is when something enters the reality, if Wanda hasn't made it herself or hasn't brought it in, then she, like, as a defense mechanism, is like making it into like a harmless thing that would fit into the world. So I reckon the guy with the sword logo on his beekeeper suit, I think he might be wearing like a hazmat suit, you know, like protective gear, and he's tried to come in. Like, they've tried to burrow the way underneath, like, the protective dome or something. And it's been changed from a hazmat suit into a beekeeper suit as, like, a harmless thing. But she knows that somebody's trying to invade her perfect reality. So that's why she freaks out and she rewinds it.
Okay, that's interesting. So, obviously, something's going on, because at the end of each episode, you have the whole, hang on. Who's doing this, Wanda? Or what did they do to you, Wanda? They're doing that, aren't they? And that's the sound of Jimmy Woo, by the way. I think that's his voice saying that to her. So there's obviously something going on. So at the end, you see them watching it on a TV of the first episode, and then you see the person like rewind and like put the headphones down, right? And they look like potentially either they're in like a CIA hideout or like in the back of a truck or something, like that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And then
I think it's sword because it's got the sword logos on the screen as well.
Yeah. So sword is shield, basically, isn't it? Like it's another.
Yeah. So
part of shield.
It's normally shield, but to defend from extraterrestrial threats. But they've actually changed the acronym from the comic book version. Normally it's something world or strategic world, maybe, because like strategic homeland for shield. But they've changed it to be weapons instead of world. So it's almost like they're protecting them from like superpowered individuals and stuff like that instead of protecting them from other extraterrestrial threats.
Yeah.
So they consider Wanda's reality a weapon and a threat.
Yeah. So what I was leading on to is the whole thing of someone saying, "What did they do to you, Wanda?" is that I reckon that she's been put into like a weird trance or a state, or she's put herself into like a weird trance or state. Either like she's, you know, being, because obviously like when you see her in things like the first Avengers and stuff like that, she's very much like defensive and stuff. Like almost like, you know, like a bit afraid of everything else going on around her. That's why she consults so much in what's his face, her twin,
Pietro Maximoff.
Yeah, what was his actual name? I forgot.
Quicksilver.
Quicksilver, that's the one. So I reckon that maybe what's going on is similar to what you're saying at the minute. Like she's with a sword, and like sword are like trying to investigate what's happened to her. But we don't know what's happened yet. Like either she's in a state, she's in a trance or something. And like the bangs that you hear are like potentially someone else trying to get to her. And maybe like the things like the helicopter, maybe she was in a helicopter, and like things like the bangs are like maybe gunshots or something going on around, or like maybe there's this big kind of like interaction going on outside of a reality. And that's why, like, things like helping Wanda, and, like, you know what I mean? Or, like, just weird things like that and maybe like because of something extreme going on outside of it, that's why she thinks back to like a happy place where she's got like vision and stuff. But again, maybe someone has caused that to happen, therefore to manipulate her and, you know, plant the babies and Mephisto and Devil Child and what have you, Omen. Yeah. And it's going to get darker. But that's kind of the vibe that I get without knowing anything about like Mephisto and stuff like that. But, Mephisto, sorry. But yeah, you know, it's I think it's definitely an open-ended book so far until we see what happens further in the season.
I'm so excited for this season. Like I said, like I was having to remind myself to begin with in the first episode there was an MCU property, and then in episode 2 I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I reckon we might even get the babies, maybe not next episode, but the episode after, because we saw how quick that pregnancy started. I reckon that's going to be in episode 4. I think we're going to do like a Brady Bunch. From what we've seen in the episodes, I think we're going to have like a Brady Bunch episode next week.
Do you reckon that'll be like a Halloween episode?
70s.
Do you reckon that'll be the Halloween? Because it looks like she comes down in like when she comes down in like her old school costume.
Yeah. So
that's like
you
a
notice
Halloween thing.
The house actually changes. Like the set changes, so the stairs are in a different place during like the 80s stuff, like Full House and stuff. Yeah. So I reckon, Halloween episode is next episode because we see her come down from those stairs that we saw turn to Technicolor at the end of last episode. So I think that's going to be the Halloween episode where she wears her comic accurate Scarlet Witch costume, which I'm so excited for, just for no reason, just to see it. It's a dumb costume, but they're doing it.
Do you reckon that's just like a devil costume in the show? They're like, "Who are you dressed up as?" And she nods to it, and then it's like, "Oh no, it's just a devil costume," you know?
Yeah, she's gonna like just sort of like brush it off dead easy.
Because then you see Vision in his cheesy green with the cape costume as well, don't you? You see him in like his. Yeah.
Like that's what Vision looked like originally in the comic book.
It looks like Paul Bettany dressing up as Vision for Halloween.
legit. But we also see him drop that and like turn into actual Vision at one point. So it's like he like they're all aware of like the external world and stuff, which is cool. But yeah, so I reckon we're gonna get like a Brady Bunch episode, and then we're gonna get like a Full House episode, which like I'm looking at screenshots here from the trailer. Like, she is holding the twins in the Full House episode, which looks like an 80s sitcom. So I reckon that they're going to come as early as episode 4, probably. I reckon maybe what the inciting incident or what makes her realize and like fight back and stuff might be something happens to the twins, and that's what breaks the reality, and like that's why her and Vision start fighting back against whoever the main villain's going to be.
It's definitely interesting. Also,
Evan Peters has been cast in the show as well, and he played Quicksilver in the Fox properties, and we know that Wanda went straight from this into making Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So is he going to come up as a new character, or is he maybe going to be their version of Quicksilver, and we're going to get the introduction of the multiverse in this series?
Ooh. Well, I'm looking at no, I don't think it is him. No, it's not him. I was looking at the Evan Peters and looking at the guy where like in the edited beekeeper costume where someone's like brightened it up a little bit, and it's not him. It's not him. No. It doesn't matter.
I think Evan Peters is either going to be like maybe Mephisto or like the Fox Quicksilver.
Evan Peters playing Mephisto. That's a big it's a big thing, right, though? Because I'm assuming Mephisto is like a big deal in the MCU, in the Marvel comics. So.
Yeah, but Evan Peters is a good actor. Like, he was great as Quicksilver. He's been good in American Horror Story and stuff.
Yeah.
He can definitely play like a weird, twisted, like sort of devilish character. So slap him in some red makeup and give him like some horns or something. I reckon he could do it.
Interesting. Right. Well, I guess
maybe because we're getting
Oh, go on.
I'm loving this show.
What was you going to say? What was you going to say?
I was just going to say, like, we've seen as well that we're going to get hints to Wanda's, like, origin, like, with the powers and stuff. So maybe we might get Aaron Taylor-Johnson back as Pietro Maximoff, like, her brother from this universe and stuff like that. But maybe we also get, like, a reflection, and maybe we get the Evan Peters Quicksilver. Like, that's what... Maybe, because, like, he's, like, one of the only people on the cast list who hasn't been given a name or anything.
Yeah, I think
So it's a big secret.
there's quite a few people predicting that he could be Mephisto.
Yeah.
So we will have to see. That probably wraps us up for this week. So first impressions of WandaVision, is it a bin or is it a binge?
Oh, it's a binge.
It's
He
a
remembered the
binge.
rating system.
I remember.
He did it. We're bringing it
Binge.
back.
Binge or in the bin, that's the thing. So yeah, no, it's definitely a binge. It's definitely a binge.
Oh, so good. What would you give it out of 10?
Oh, look, 10 out of 10 has to be pretty like phenomenal, and I've only seen 2 episodes of it. So far, it's like racking up to be like a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I would say 9 out of 10. We could maybe at the end of the season say whether it is a 10 out of 10 or not.
Yeah, it has the potential to like drop from a 9 out of 10 depending on how it goes. But like so far, I'm enjoying it. It's good. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so excited to have something to look forward to on a Friday again now. Like Mandalorian has finished. Now we've got WandaVision dropping every Friday. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're literally getting a new episode of of something now, pretty much every week, right? Near enough. On Disney
Yeah, because
Plus.
not long after this finishes, we'll have Falcon Winter Soldier starting,
Winter Soldier.
which this makes me so excited for that as well. Like
Oh,
we
yeah.
know, like the MCU has a level of quality. Like even Thor: The Dark World is a perfectly fine film, and the world building's good in it and stuff like that. But like, it's not the best. But we still know it's got a level of quality. So we knew that these series weren't going to be bad. It just might have been okay. But this has filled me with some real hope that Falcon and Winter Soldier as well is going to be shit hot as well.
Well, I mean, it's up to 25 million per episode, so it's definitely got that big money.
If you
behind
make
it.
something shit with that much money, you don't deserve that much money.
As
As Stark would say, if you're nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve it.
as a final thing, how weird was it having the Marvel intro, realizing that you're about to watch a TV series?
It's so good. I love the way
that
they
was
changed
odd,
it to
yeah.
being like a tube television as well.
Yeah, that was really cool. I felt like I was about to watch Infinity War or Endgame. I was like, whoa, this is like big.
It gave it like prestige, didn't it? Dropping into it, like it was like, yes, this is like 100% in the MCU. You know what you're getting in for. Let's go on a wild ride.
Ballsy. Yeah, and that's that. You know what? Perfect place to leave it off. Absolutely spot on. Let us know what you think of WandaVision. What are your hot takes and predictions? Tweet at us, comment on in our Instagram post, what have you, at GetRealPodUK. No, just at GetRealPod. Got it wrong. The email is getrealpoduk@gmail.com if you want to email in. Chris, how can people support us on the podcast?
Best way to support the podcast is leave a rate and review wherever you listen to the podcast. Go on to Podchaser, and if you leave a rate and review on there, then it syndicates it to all the other platforms, apparently, so that's great. Don't forget to check out the boys over at the Get Real Gaming podcast, but the best way you can help both podcasts out is just to share us with a friend, share us on your socials, anything like that. Just a little bit, just click that little, like, paper aeroplane thing and just post it to your story dead quick. It takes 2 seconds and it helps us out a huge bunch. But thank you so much for listening to us. We're so excited for 2021. We're right back into the swing of things for the new year now. Woo!
And I've got a special request for anyone listening to this episode. What did you like so damn much about our Witcher episode? Please let us know.
It's the mystery.
Because people are still listening to that. It's like our best episode yet, apparently. So yeah, if you're listening, let us know what you like about it, because I really want to know.
We just need to wait for season 2 of The Witcher to come out, and then we'll be the next biggest podcast.
That's it.
Joe Rogan, look out once Witcher 2 comes out.
Anyway, we'll leave it there. Stay safe, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.